afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the StayTrueKnicks podcast. It is currently Tuesday, January 12th at 12:20 p.m., and I am joined again with my two co-hosts, Mike Kelly and Pete Klein. What's up, guys?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Last time Mike and I did a duo. That was before the Knicks' 3-game losing streak, which the Knicks are now on. They lost last night, 109-88 on the road to the Charlotte Hornets. They have, in the last 3 games, consistently failed to reach 90 points. The depth right now on the Knicks is definitely starting to hurt them. They're lacking with shooters. R.J. Barrett is in a shooting slump. The effects of Julius Randle are starting to simmer down, although his stats are still okay. And pretty much the point guard play has been atrocious. I think you guys can attest that my actions in our group chat have been
erratic.
That's one word for it. And I've been really hard on this team. And I have planned to get on a pod and yell about how frustrated I am with the shot selections and the play of our young players. And then this is like the worst analogy ever. I went for my morning workout today. Today was back in Bias Day. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. And I was like, I just don't want to listen to a Knicks pod this morning. I don't want to hear another Knicks podcaster read off stats I already know and tell me this takes I already am aware of, whether they're right, wrong, the same, reactionary or not. And I listened to the Jeremy Boehm, singer of Touche Amores pod, where he had Jordan Dreyer on, the singer of La Dispute. And basically they were just going over Jordan's initial movements into music in the early to mid 2000s. And I was just thinking while I was listening to them talk about, getting into their careers, coming out of the ages that you are in high school and college, and was like, all right, that was like 16 years ago. These guys are still in their 30s, pretty much past the point an NBA player plays, but not too far. And they have grown so much since then. I have no reason in the world to attack a 20-year-old in a tough situation on a new team after 3 days of relatively bad basketball in R.J. Barrett, who is, again, the most important young player in the team. So if those guys can have ups and downs and still be successful in their careers in 16, 17 years, I think R.J. has the chance to be totally fine as an NBA player. So I decided I'm not going to tear down guys that had taken a team against tough competition to 5-3 and finally succumbed to all of the struggles they have to deal with while not even having a true starting point guard. And they went 0-3 in 3 tough games to watch. But I think waking up and seeing that Emmanuel quickly got off the team plane and going to the team facility to shoot around at 2 a.m. is the voice that they need. I watched the Charlotte Hornets play last night, and the 2 best players were the 2 players the Knicks failed to acquire. They wanted to, LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward. And watching the swagger that LaMelo plays with, whether it's annoying as a fan of the other team, it's cool that we may have a young point guard that plays with a sort of swagger and charisma that our past point guards don't have, especially Elfrid Payton. I mean, Elfrid Payton doesn't talk. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't play like he wants to be out there. And it's cool to see we do have a couple young guys that might have that, untaught characteristic of being happy, positive guys. So with that, I'm not even going to talk about any of the stats the last 3 games. I'm just going to say I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to look for things outside of purely statistical basketball stats and look for other things in our players. So with that, I'm going to let you guys kind of get into your pieces to start this off.
Pete, you want to start?
Sure thing. I'm going to be a little bit more negative, I think, just because I think some negativity is warranted.
I haven't negative at all, by the way, last few days. That was the most negative.
That was Trav positive.
So as you said, Trev, I agree that the RJ project is the most important thing. And we figured something out last night, and I think that he figured it out too, is that the dream of him becoming a shooter is, if not dead, at least it's for the future. It's not for winning games right now. And there was a moment last night where he was like 1 for 11. And then he kind of just snapped and started. He took 3 more shots, I believe, and they all went in. It was a dunk, nice baseline drive into a layup, and then a pretty good putback. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's just done shooting for the night. He wants to score.
Guys, I just spilled some water. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll be right back.
No problem.
I really hope it wasn't the spit cup.
Spit cup did not make an appearance today.
Okay.
But in any event, RJ has to be surrounded by shooters. This is a player who can't function unless at least 3 of the other players on the court are average to above average 3-point shooters. So I think since RJ is the most important piece, for me, it's a lineups thing, right? Like, we can't be rolling out lineups with Alfred and RJ on the court together. Julius, I get. Sometimes he's a sub-average 3-shooter, but he's the best player on the team, so he's going to have to share the court with RJ a lot. The lineups with those 2 and Alfred just don't work because the paint is just so clogged, and they all need to drive to get buckets. So for me, as I watch this team more and more, I'm trying to work out lineups in my head that that will work for RJ. Not necessarily like the best lineups, because I think some of the better lineups might not even include him, especially on his rougher nights. But he's going to be getting those minutes. So I don't know. Mike, what do you think about the starting lineup? Do you think it's time to move on from Peyton? Because like the realistic like, not fan, but like analyst in me almost wants to say like, yeah, Quickly can shoot, but like he's just not as good of an NBA player as Peyton yet. And do you give that guy a starting role like before he's earned it to make the lineup better?
No, you can't do that. As much as I hate Elfrid Payton, and I made it like abundantly clear in our group chats, and I think I fired off a couple tweets about how much I dislike the way Elfrid Payton plays basketball. I think that handing the keys to Emmanuel Quickly now isn't the best idea. I think he's got to, go out there and play well enough to earn that spot. He doesn't have to win it because Elfrid Payton's doing a good enough job losing it. But in the minutes that he's on the court, he can't be jacking up 3-pointers from 6 feet behind the arc. Mm-hmm. He can't be flying into the paint and trying to draw contact and throwing the ball at the rim and not getting foul calls for that. And like he's good. He's a good point guard and he's a good basketball player. He's 21. He's working through a lot of things and he's learning how to run a team, and that's fine. And I think that a lot of the problems with his game right now are coming from the fact that when he's subbed in, they're already losing. So he's trying to be a spark plug off the bench, manifest some winning basketball kind of out of nothing. And especially when he is sharing the floor with Peyton, like he did last night for a few minutes, it's ugly. And you have one point guard who the ball sticks to his hand and he only passes to one other player. And then you have another point guard who is flying around the court, almost playing a little bit too fast for himself sometimes, trying to make up for lost ground. I don't think that it's a good situation for either of them. I think that eventually it's going to be time to move on from Peyton and start Quickly. I don't think that the next game is the right time because Quickly has looked bad his last couple outings, and he's shot poorly and he's made some pretty unwise decisions, we'll call them. But like I said, he's 21, so you have to have patience. He's a rookie. He played off ball last year at Kentucky. He is a point guard. They limited practice, limited training camp, no summer league. The Knicks overperformed, and we've been saying this from the beginning. When they were 5-3. Yeah, 5-3. And because they're on a 3-game lose streak. Yeah, so they overperformed to get to 5-3. And we were ready to burn down Manhattan. Trav, your audio is low. We were ready to burn down Manhattan and start parades through New York City because they were 5-3.
Did we lose Mike?
Am I so quiet? Or might go down?
You're a little quiet.
So they've been playing a lot better. Nice, Pete. Oh, well, look at that loadout.
Oh my God! I'm switching the side.
Yes. So it's it's not like the Thunder are a bad team, and I said on the podcast with Trav, our duo pod, in a different universe, the Thunder had the Knicks record going into that game, and it was reverse. So it's not like, it's two young teams on the come up. Somebody had to win. Somebody had to have a bad night. It was due. Last night was rough. Second night of a back-to-back. It's...
Yeah, and then the other game was against one of the best teams in the NBA.
Right. So, there's reasons why these things happen. I think a large reason is, I think Tibbs I know Tibbs is stubborn with his lineups.
He is stubborn.
The same way we got frustrated for Fizdale being too fluid with his lineups. Tibbs is really stubborn with his lineups, and it's going to take a long time to see a guy like quickly become a starting point guard on this team, even if Payton is playing like the worst point guard in the league, like he is playing right now. We started off 0 for 5 from 3 last night on really good looks. That's just bad shooting. It happens, I'm more obsessed with the product on the court, not the results.
Yeah, I
know
what you
ball
mean.
movement has been decent, right? They're working for open looks. A lot of the shots that they were hitting, that they weren't hitting, were wide open shots. Those will fall. You're gonna have nights where it'll the same way they came back down to earth. They're going to progress to the mean, in the same way. And then.
But do you think that'll just come magically?
No, it won't just come magically, and they're going to practice it. It's
yeah, of course. But to me, it has to come from guys coming back. I think as long as
once Burks comes back,
on the court, Burks and Frank and Obi are probably all well within the top 50% of shooters on the Knicks
on the team, right? Yeah, you are, Trev. And the Charlotte shot lights out. Most of the shots that Gordon Hayward was taking were well-defended shots, and he was just drilling shot after shot after shot. That cross-court pass from LaMelo Ball where he caught it, turned around, faded baseline, and just poofed right in. That's a great shot.
Yeah,
that's good
just
defense.
The strength of having a guy who can do that through good defense, which the Knicks don't have.
The Knicks don't really have those guys.
When he's on, Julius can hit those crazy mid-range fadeaways, back off one leg. But
we're building.
That's really it.
We're building. We have to take things with a grain of salt this season because this is the second year of a real rebuild, an actual rebuild.
I agree.
You are so quiet, Trev. It's the second year of a real rebuild. And Sports Illustrated today, a few hours ago, released an article on their website saying the Knicks are finally rebuilding the right way. And that's after 2 ugly losses they published that article. So
good for Sports Illustrated. I think we have Trav back.
That's great.
Am I back?
Yes, you are back.
You are.
Yay.
Good to have you. And that's great. Yes, we're struggling. Yes, shots aren't going in. Yes, our point guard is the worst starting point guard in the entire NBA. He's probably worse than a lot of backup point guards in the league. But we're building. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. RJ Barrett will become a better shooter with time. Emmanuel quickly will get a better feel for the game with more reps. Obi Toppin's going to come back. Alex Burks is going to come back. Mitchell Robinson has way less foul trouble than he ever has in his career.
Mitch and Knox are, to me, the guys who are really becoming.
Kevin Knox was the hot hand last night. Why did he stop getting fed?
Thank you. Yeah,
he took 12 threes. It's not like he wasn't totally fed.
He was the only one that could hit threes.
Right,
He
but
was the only player that could hit threes.
We can't underestimate the shots he took and should have took more. Like, yeah, we needed it, but he also can't create for himself with the ball in his hand. So if he's not taking a spot of 3, he can't do anything.
Agreed, but then I don't think you take him off the court.
You don't take him off the court. You just drive and kick, try to get him open.
I mean, 30 minutes.
Julius Randle. Yeah, but
true, but most of that work was in the first half too.
Yeah,
he still shot under 50%. I'm not discrediting Knox's game, but I'm saying like he played 30 minutes and took 12 threes like that. What do you want to do? Take 20 threes? I mean, maybe that's the best way of playing.
Like literally, maybe that's the best play. Yeah. That's the way to play him. Like, and especially when he gets hot like that. When he gets hot, he's a hard guy to stop.
Yeah.
He has a feel for the ball now that he never had before, and you have to just feed him. I mean, I don't want to watch Austin Rivers pass out of open threes anymore.
Well, he's also a guy like he's tall and he's got long arms, so his shot is kind of hard to contest sometimes, especially for like some other wings. Although
there was a play last night that really frustrated me. Julius Randle in the air, tried to pass it to Kevin Knox. Bad pass, bad play. Clyde says it all the time. It's the cardinal sin of passing the ball to jump up in the air because then you're trapped. Well, as soon as you leave your feet, you're trapped. You have to throw the ball either at the rim or at a player, and it's the cardinal sin of passing. I got frustrated because they were frustrated, and Julius Randle was frustrated with Kevin Knox, who probably should have slid into an open spot because there was a defender right in front of him.
He made a bad pass, but Knox wasn't active in being ready for a pass.
It was a bad play for both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what their conversation was on the sideline because I'm not really good at reading lips. But it looked like Julius Randle was explaining to Knox instead of like reprimanding him, which is good.
Yeah.
I hope that's the case.
Randle has been hard on Knox in the past.
Yeah, and in
the last few years.
Kevin Knox has been deserving of being hard on in the past couple of years too. It does look like he's playing
hard on. Come on, man.
Should I leave? Do I just leave after that?
In any event, yeah, but I agree. I mean, Knox, but he has become like an NBA rotational piece, like, dude. 100%. which is so good to see. And him and Mitch to me are really the bright spots of this game.
It's funny because like Kevin Knox on the lowest of keys is becoming one of our more consistent players.
Absolutely.
And his shooting has taken a step in the right direction, and his defense is taking a really big step. So he's becoming one of the more consistent players.
Yeah, the defense is the bigger thing.
I would love to see,
because that lets him, be on the court.
And he's shooting 40% from 3 in the season.
Yeah,
and in the NBA, if you can do that, you don't necessarily need other skills.
No, and it's like
Absolutely.
It's like icing on top that he's becoming a better defender. Right. Really, like a 3-and-D player will have a role on every team in the NBA.
Literally any
until
team.
Until you're 36, 37 years old, you'll have a role.
If the only skill you can do
3-and-D, right?
If the only skill you can do above average is shoot threes, you will make more money in the NBA than if you only have one other top skill. If that is your only top skill, that gets you in the NBA.
Fact. But
I do want to
continue. Yeah, I don't want to prattle on, but I was just going to say to stay on the court.
You go. I'm actually just reading something. You finish. I'm reading something. Yeah.
To stay on the court though, he does have to keep that defense up. Like he can't just be the shooter.
It's consistent defense. He's not. He's playing.
We can't just play a guy for 30 minutes who can't defend at all, though.
He's been fine on ball. He's been, at least last night, as everyone was, sub-average in team defense. But no one, even Mitch, was good in team defense. Like, nobody was making the extra rotation last night.
True, but you know who's become a quality defender, I think, pretty quickly is RJ.
RJ is the best wing defender on the team. And
which
Frank's
again,
not playing. I have to
Frank's
see him
not
play
playing.
more.
Yeah,
But we actually, Frank was not the most effective off ball always. He was always a very strong on ball defender.
Yeah, he'll lock you up, but he's not incredible
we'll
off
have
ball.
to see.
He's fine.
And like too good. Like if I'm good at defense and Mike's not good at defense, my good defense doesn't necessarily raise Mike's defense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put two good defenders together, you can really raise that defense together.
Yeah, which is why more good defenders is great. Guys like Mitch being able to stay on the court, Knox coming into his own defensively, RJ coming into his own defensively. Like, this has been really helpful for giving the Knicks that. Like, the only reason they're ever even in any games is because they're good, good defensive team.
But this is just proof. The Knicks are actually a really good defensive team this year.
Yeah,
and this is just more proof that offense, like defense in the NBA, frankly, like
saves you 105 points and the Knicks at 125.
Doesn't really matter that much. Like, you have to put the ball in the basket. Obviously, defense matters. It's not as important as offense is ever. In any situation.
Yeah. Well, it's the old saying, defense wins championships. Like, it'll make your life easier on a night in and night out basis to have a great defense. It'll help you win more games just kind of passively. But like, what wins you a game is putting the ball in the basket, like more than the other team. Like I'd say it's like a 70-30 split. Like you need to be putting the ball in the basket, and that's why the Knicks can't win games, because they're putting up 90 points. Like you said last night, we're struggling to put up 90 points.
They're actually not putting up 90 points.
They haven't even broken 90 in the last 3 games. Like, for an NBA team,
all of the wins they broke 100, pathetic. So they can do it.
Yeah.
I thought that they beat the Cavs under 100.
And the winning streak, I mean.
Oh.
I do want to chime in. Kind of backtracking, kind of moving us along at the same time. When we talk, you guys have actually, for the most part, said positive things. I think the things that the Knicks are bad at are so blatantly obvious. It's like, what do you need to say about it?
Yeah, it's how we're talking about.
Like, what do we need to talk about that Elfrid Payton can't shoot, and he doesn't add to RJ's game. So I just wanted to, again, point out, the Knicks have 3 players that have been actively out in Toppin, Burks, and Frank. And if you take Bullock also out, all 4 of those players have had games where they've hit 3+ threes. And most of them have only played a couple of games. So those are like legit shooters to an extent. Looking at
I was really liking Frank's touch before he went out, but continue.
And he was, I think Burks is the best player in the team.
He is, other than Julius.
I think
Julius
Alec Burks is maybe the coolest free agent signing I've ever watched as a Knicks fan.
I want to see all the new FAs together. Like, I want to see Rivers and Burks on the court together.
And to be fair, Nerlens Noel was the only Knick with a plus in the plus-minus box last night. And he was good.
Noel played great last night. And I've been super hard on him lately, but he played great.
Me too.
And he's got all, the agent stuff going on and that tweet stuff. And he doesn't seem like a player who really gets active in that kind of shit. And he played well.
Kudos to him for stepping up last night, because he He had a couple rough games, and I was a lot harder on him than I was on other players that have rough games, but he deserves credit where it's due. Had a great game.
We've spent a lot of time on this pod, as all Knicks do, talking about the rotation, and I think in relative terms, we've all been understanding / fair on tips on his rotations, right? He hasn't been sitting guys that are playing well, that have been healthy. Really, everyone that's played well has played a lot. Maybe Knox can have a longer leash, but I don't think it's the worst thing making sure Knox stays on a leash, because he needs to stay focused, or whatever he does doesn't work. So I was thinking this morning about the guys in the team, and I've always said this season, I don't care your position. If you can shoot, you're going to play, right? So that means Payton is not in my rotation, assuming everyone's healthy. And I really think maybe the best thing for this team, it might suck in the beginning, is to put the ball in RJ's hands more. because every time I watched him, whether it's in the main part of the game or in garbage minutes, whatever he does to me makes more sense when he has the ball in his hands deciding. It seems like he drives and makes shitty layups less when he's kind of always has the ball. It seems like when he gets past the ball out of bad plays, he doesn't figure out the right play to make. But when he starts the play, it seems like he plays better. And we saw that in preseason when RJ got more run, I think, let's say percentage of minutes of the game. I saw him running the offense more in preseason than the regular season. Granted, they're playing against, G League guys, but whatever. So everyone's healthy. I think, I would like to see RJ have ball 2 of the dearth of wings that shoot better on the outside, and then obviously Randall and Mitch. And Randall will run offense too. But I think, if you had RJ as the quote-unquote point guard with, Burks/Rivers as your two guys, at least RJ has shown when he's running the play, he will take the ball, drive, and kick. Opposed to when he gets the ball out of a bad play, he likes to drive and throw up a shot. That's my thought on that moving forward. I don't know when that will happen. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I think that's the strongest way. And then if you want to play Payton, he can do more on the bench playing against guys that can't have the ball in their hand, because he has shown he can get to the basket and score. But you don't need that when your other 2 best guys on the court do that as their best skill too, So maybe that is the easiest way of diversifying skills and talent on the team. But
it shouldn't go unsaid that for all of RJ Barrett's shooting woes, he's been playing every other phase of the game really well.
Absolutely.
His defense is great. He's boxing out and hustling for rebounds. He's making the right passes. He's doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. The shot's just not going in. And I said last night too, he had one really egregious air ball, but I think that was just because that seemed to me purely psychological. Because his mechanics didn't really change. Yeah. He almost all of his shots that miss are either short or long. So he's not missing left or right a lot. He's missing short or long. That's just feel. That's just touch, and that will come. I'm not worried about it. He should be taking less shots, and Trav made a point last night where he should be playing more like a Ben Simmons. It's a great point. He should be taking less. I don't want him to take no threes, because then you lose all confidence in that ability to shoot the ball, and you have to shoot it more to make it more.
I would like to see him take it more if it's a design play than taking it at the end of a shot clock when the ball has to go up.
So that was a thing that I wanted to talk about. The Knicks need to play offense faster. Get the ball over half court. There should be no turnovers in the backcourt. I almost threw the remote through the TV last night when Elfrid Payton tried to Elfrid Payton threw the ball to Julius Randle to take up the court, and then Julius Randle tried to throw it back over to him, got intercepted, easy 2 points. If I was Tibbs, I would have snapped the clipboard over Julius Randle's head. The most ridiculous turnover last night was that turnover. Get the ball over half court, attack the basket, kick, shoot, stop, pump fake, take a dribble, pass. Pump fake, take a dribble, pass. If I watch Austin Rivers and whoever do that one more time, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to grab the clipboard out of the team's hand and I'm going to snap it over their heads, because that's fucking ridiculous. If you take a step in and you're still open, shoot a long 2, whatever. If you're open for the 3, shoot the 3. You take open shots. I'm not upset if you miss open shots because they're open. You're doing something right to get open. If the shot doesn't go in, that's a problem for practice. But you work for good shots. Stop passing out of good shots.
Yeah, the overpassing has been a big problem. It leads to a lot of turnovers. And on the one hand, you kind of like to be on this side of the problem. I think overpassing is an easier thing to work out than just guys who want to get theirs and just shoot. And I think the only guy who's really like that on this team is Payton.
The overpassing seems like a lack of confidence thing to me, because they don't want to be the one that misses the shot. But then you're forcing other guys into a bad situation with the shot clock winding down. Emmanuel Quickly passing the ball to Austin Rivers for that pass, for that 3. That was a bad pass. Quickly had an open 3. He should have shot the ball. Austin Rivers should have shot the ball too. He did have time. Both made bad decisions.
I think it would have worked out better if the pass was really low.
The pass
was
was not
a bounce
good.
pass, and it kind of skipped, and it was by his knees, so he couldn't get up into his shooting motion.
But you don't have to take a rhythm dribble there. You have to know how much time
he doesn't necessarily make quote unquote accurate passes.
No, he's not the most accurate passer. But he's 21. That's not the point. Like those things will get better with time. You have to assume because players grow. My point is like not every three needs a rhythm dribble. You can catch and shoot. Even good shooters make shots off of bad passes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good shooters take shots off of bad passes.
I think
you don't
Klay
even have to
Thompson
make
like the best
get the ball up.
That.
Klay Thompson's just like the best pure shooter. I think, in the league.
I don't know. To me, it just seems like this team has kind of reached the point of we can't like win more games until we get guys back. Like a lot of it looked like Julius Randle looked tired last night. And
he is tired. He's playing the second most minutes in the league.
He's not
it's
gonna.
His first year in shape.
Complain about it. Yeah,
in his life.
I doubt he'll complain
give
about
the guy
it
a break.
He's not like somebody who was a paper bitch and complained about being tired under Jeff Hornacek.
But can I cut in and give you a really interesting stat?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm just looking at Kevin Knox's like stats on ESPN, and in fantasy on ESPN, he's rostered in only 1.9% of leagues, but his position rank amongst small forwards is 36th.
That's phenomenal.
That means he's like technically a top bench small forward. That's cool.
I'm trying to think of how many. This is my first year playing fantasy basketball, and my team sucks.
The 1 year I played, I was really good, and then I just couldn't follow.
Jason Tatum got COVID, dude. Whatever.
No, I don't think he has COVID. Is he in quarantine, or does he actually have COVID?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think he was a close contact, and now he has to quarantine for 10
because
days.
like I've said so many times the last few days, there's so few dynamic things Knicks have been doing. There's not much to talk about. We'll have a segment today where we definitely touch on other things in the league and sports, because there's quite a few of that stuff to talk about for sure.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any opinions about those things.
I have opinions about other teams. My NFL takes are terrible. I don't really know that much about football. Yeah, but I'll pretend to.
We should have Babs on if we're going to talk about football. He knows everything about everything when it comes to football.
Yeah, we should have Babs.
Is he a Jets fan?
Yeah, he's the Jets and Cowboys fan.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he'd be great on a pod if we ever had him on.
So talking about
if we ever need a fourth, I vote Babs.
It's just like it's so tough for the Knicks to do anything on offense right now when Randall's not in the game. Like he's got to be worn out, and like I don't know what else Tibbs can really do.
Yeah, they need Burks. That's kind of just bottom line to me. Like Burks can create it. Yeah, Burks can shoot the three. He can defend. He can create his own shot. Like those three things. He can even handle the ball sometimes. Like he's so desperately missed. And I think lineups with him, like Rivers, Burks, RJ, Julius, Mitch. Like to me, that is a great lineup. Or even like in spot minutes, like Rivers, Burks, RJ, Knox, Mitch would be a lineup that gives RJ a lot of spacing. Like the one lineup that would give RJ spacing.
So Julius Randle is sponsored in 97.8% of leagues, and he's the number 2 power forward in fantasy.
Yeah, he's putting up stats.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. I was gonna say I like this team, especially. This isn't going to be the end of the injury problems that we have this year. It's not just going to. I really think
by
that
no means
there's something in the water here in New York because every New York team just has a litany of injury problems. Tibbs needs to start and play his best players the most minutes. Whether that means Austin Rivers playing point guard and Burks playing the 2 for 36 minutes a game when he comes back. Like this is the type of team where you have to if you want to stand a chance, you have to play your best minutes. You have to start them and play them the most minutes, period. I want to see them starting. I don't want to see Burks coming off the bench. I know he's like a microwave scorer, but you have to stay competitive in the first half to be able to play well in the second half and win. You can't claw back from 17 to win every game. And to do that, I think you need to start your best scoring options and your best players, period, and not have like Reggie Bullock out there with the starters. I know he doesn't play like a crazy amount of minutes with them, but like I think it's just the best course of option for the team.
You need, like I've said, the players with more dynamic skills in your starting offense.
Right, and that's Alec Burks. That's Austin Rivers.
And Rivers. And again, if assuming everyone's healthy, quickly Frank is a fine backup backcourt.
Right.
With Knox, Toppin, Yoel, Gibbs. Like there's enough. There's enough going around.
Yeah.
And Alfred Payton never sees the court again.
But he will.
And I hate him.
So Peyton, I could see like Peyton, Frank, Knox, and then like Burks. Like I'm just trying to think of lineups that could give Peyton like spacing as well, because he desperately needs to be on the court with shooters, or he's ruining the entire team. If he just
played with literally the bench, he would be totally fine on spacing.
Yeah.
Like quickly Frank, Knox, Toppin,
like, Frank, Knox, Toppin.
Bullock, like these Taj gives you a little space. Like these guys can shoot.
Don't give him the option of just handing the ball off to Julius Randle, and I think that it makes him a better point guard.
Well, I think a lot of the lineups, true, because a lot of lineups that Alfred does run in have Julius and RJ, and that group just sucks. They just don't work together. Julius and RJ work fine together. I think adding Peyton is just like the poison pill that like makes those two like not function as a unit.
And not to scapegoat him, but I really think that Alfred Payton's a large part of the reason why we go down so big so fast.
Yes,
and you can't come back from that.
It's those brutal runs. It's those terrible runs we have where it's like, okay, other team hits a three, we come back, we take a layup in traffic, it rolls off the rim, other team goes back, hits a three.
Take a layup in traffic after 22 seconds off the shot clock of passing back and forth between Randle and Peyton, because Peyton's passing Randle into double teams, and Randle passes the ball back to Peyton because he's the one that they leave open.
Pass for 20 seconds, break a contested three, another team goes back, we bite on a pump fake, easy layup, and then suddenly we're down 8 points or whatever. It's like we let the other, like, it would be easy to say like, oh, they just got hot, oh, they just got hot, oh, they just got hot again and again and again. For the last 3 games, they've constantly been going on these runs. I'm like, okay, well, maybe the Knicks need to be doing something. No, that's a fact. But like,
I mean, he's been playing well. It's not like he did anything out of the ordinary.
It's not like it was a surprise. They beat but like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you don't not miss a single. You could be really hot and still miss shot. Like he was hitting contested shot, like well contested shots. It's not like he was in his bag cooking. Like they were playing good defense and he just couldn't miss.
Yeah. I mean, but to me it's like that kind of speaks to the problem where the Knicks don't have a guy who gets that white hot. Like they have Julius who can do pretty well, but he won't do that. He won't be that like efficient, and he won't be that aggressive because he's looking to pass more. And then RJ just can't shoot, so he won't be able to do that either.
Right.
And so those are the guys, and that kind of comes from having $18 million in cap space. But
right, they're technically by the way they pay money, they should not be a good team. If you look at strictly on who pays more money means they're better at basketball, the Knicks, in essence, would then be the worst team in the league.
Well,
which is one way of looking
at the worst team in the league.
And we thought that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league coming into this season. The fact that they've played
top 3 worst team in the league.
like give them
they might be still. We don't know
they
yet.
Could be, but they're playing. They played in that stretch. We saw them play at their full potential.
Yeah, they played great basketball.
That is unsustainable, but it's possible. And with good coaching and Tibbs pushing these guys in the right direction, they can continue to play at that level more so than they have the last few games on this skid. They're not going to be one of the worst 5 teams in the league, I don't think.
No, they'll
be actually.
We'll see. I mean,
we'll see. I don't know.
yeah, it's tough to say because we've had the good run and then we had the backslide, and maybe we'll have a good run again, or maybe we'll keep backsliding. But
I don't think that they'll be one of the worst 5 teams in the league because the Pistons are worse, the Wizards are worse. Who else is worse? Fucking
Minnesota's worse.
Minnesota's worse.
And, I mean, there's teams that currently have worse records. But
no, I don't mean worse records. I think these are worse basketball teams.
Toronto is struggling.
If you go by point differential, do you know where the Knicks are in the Eastern Conference?
I'm going to say 13th.
Probably 14th.
14th. They have a minus 5.4 differential. They're only beating Detroit. And in the NBA, they're only beating Detroit, the Kings, and the Timberwolves.
Yeah, but I mean, it's only been 11 games, though. I mean, and in a shortened season,
I didn't say they weren't going to be the 6th worst team. I said they weren't going to be bottom 5.
They currently only score more points than one team in the NBA. That's the Cavaliers, and they score 0.1% more points than the Cavaliers on the season. So they're the 29th offense in scoring. They're basically the 30th offense in scoring.
But they've also had 3 of the worst games.
In the last
I'm just saying, I mean, we're 11 games in. It's not nothing. It's not everything.
Right, but that
I don't think they're gonna be much higher. I mean, they would have to score a whole ton of points in the next 20 games to be anywhere close to 110, which is about average in the league right now. So I mean, we have stats that are going to be relatively consistent with the rest of the season, and I don't think they're going to score a whole lot of more points than that most games.
True.
That's just my take.
To me, it's yeah, we could talk about point differential and offensive rating and all these things, but at the end of the day, the only number that matters is wins. And we have as many as Brooklyn right now. We're like 5-6. If you told me first 11 games, Knicks go 5-6, I'd be like, okay, that's
I would have been ecstatic.
That's a middling team. Ecstatic is strong just because at the beginning of the season, I would have said, well, we might as well be tanking then. But seeing this team and I don't think we should be tanking. Yeah, I'll take 5-6. No. Like at the start of the season, I would have said, oh, well, the team, it probably came off unsustainable stuff. So I would have rather just had Cade and moved on. But now that I've seen the team play and I'm off the tanking boat, 5-6 is good. The Nets are 5-6.
But I mean, not to discredit you guys. I don't think they're going to be winning a ton more games than they are. I think they're going to be a bad team. I mean, there aren't that many teams in the league that have as few playmakers as the Knicks do. We've said in the 3-game winning streak, they were winning games they had no business winning. If they keep losing those games like they have been losing, they're going to quickly have a terrible record. But that's under the assumption that they play as bad as historically bad as they have been. They could have been 15 points better and they still lose. You know what I mean? They're losing by 20 points in every loss. They're not losing by a few points. They're not losing on a ball that rattled its way into the rim.
But a more competitive game at the end leads to different outcomes too. It's not just the points game. The game changes at that point. That's not a fair.
I mean, I know I was easier earlier in the pod, but I'm also because I'm aware they're not good. They haven't had one loss that was in the single digits. Every loss they've been in essence blown out. They're not even really competitive in these losses at all. The wins have been close games for the most part, except for the Bucks game. Everything else they were losing at some point in the game and they won. I just think when I'm saying I'm going to be patient, I'm going to be patient because I'm aware they're not very good. I don't think they have any shot at the playing game for the rest of the season. I think that's done, for sure. No doubt. I don't know.
5-6, you think a shot at the 10 seed's done?
Yeah, because the Knicks were 4-18 last year, and then they ended up getting 27 wins in the season or 21 wins in the season. And they had the 6th worst record. At one point they had the worst record. So I think it can go the other way around too, where you start out okay and then you end up being bad. Like the Toronto Raptors have 3 guys that are borderline all-stars. Those guys, the team's gonna win some games. They're 2-8, but they're gonna get some wins. They win 3 next 3. The Knicks lose 3. They have the same record. So I just think I think they're gonna be better than the Pistons and they might be better than the Timberwolves, but I don't think they're better than the Houston Rockets, who are 3-5 right now. I don't think they're better than the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 4-5. I think these teams are going to have better records.
I think they're comparable to the Pelicans. What makes the Pelicans better than the Knicks?
Because I think they have. I think if you go by in basketball, players that are, you rate the team by the top players in the team, and I think that the 2 best players in the Pelicans are better than the Knicks' 2 best players. I think you can say that Zion and Brandon Ingram are better than Julius Randle and RJ Barrett.
I guess because Brandon, they're better, but I would put them on a similar level. If I was building tiers of teams, I would probably put the Pelicans and the Knicks in a similar tier. Although
I would put they have the Knicks and the Thunder and the Hawks in the same tier. I don't know.
Yeah, even the Thunder are 5-4. They have a winning record.
But the Thunder beat the
never
Nets,
know.
Dude. The Thunder aren't fucking around. The Thunder
are
the Bucks. We're kind of
they're
fucking
not a
around
bad
right
team. Yeah, but then the Bucks went 7-3.
Right.
Yeah. I know what I was trying to say in the beginning of the pod is I'm gonna be easier on our players because I'm aware we don't have the talent yet. But I think as the season goes on and teams are aware of what the Knicks can do, which is very little, they're gonna hold that against them, and they're not gonna be able to beat teams that play zone against them if they can't hit threes.
And what I'm saying is they're not always going to have historically bad shooting like they have the last couple of games. They're going to progress back to the mean, and there are going to be close games that they're going to win. That's my point. I'm not saying that they're going to be a playoff team and vying for whatever 7 seed or anything like that. I'm just saying that they're gonna be better than the worst 5 teams in the league. They're gonna be better than the Cavs. They're gonna be better than the Wizards. They're gonna be better than the Pistons. I think they're gonna be better than the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
I think that's my point. They'll be around 6 again, the 6th worst team by the end of the season. That's my guess. But we'll see. We don't know.
In 3 games from now, we could be having a totally different conversation. If we lose 3 in a row,
right,
we'll be saying, yeah, this is a botch. Like this team can't hang. And if they rip off 3 wins, we're going to be back to saying the P word. That's just how we are as fans.
No, that's true. And you're right. Again, if they go 3 wins and then they're 8-6, which is 14 games into a 72-game season, that's a percentage of that season. That's respectable.
Yeah.
I just think when I realized this morning that I was going to be easier than the players is because my biggest knock on RJ has been he has shown few skills so far that constitute to winning basketball games. If you go through his draft, there are other players that have helped their teams win more games than RJ has. You can say in some of the Knicks wins have been RJ's bad games. His best, he had some good games and wins. Don't get me wrong.
So if RJ has a good game, the Knicks will win though. That's
not true. They lost the first game of the season. He played really well.
Well, that's one. Yeah, but that was first game of the season. When they played the Pacers the second time, they won. Right. And then game they played the Hawks, they won.
So to put RJ in the best way for him to succeed, which is not what they're doing right now. Even if RJ plays well in his role, it's just not his role. It'll never be his role. He's never going to be a spot-up shooter. Probably not, at least. So, even if they win games and he's not playing his role, it's almost doesn't matter. And that's kind of what I was thinking last night and this morning. That's not a knock on RJ. It's more a knock on the Knicks aren't built correctly. If Elfrid Payton plays well and they win, what did the Knicks achieve? And now I've said the Knicks do achieve by winning games. Yes, but that's going to happen. They're going to win so few games by Payton playing well. It just makes sense to just not play Payton. if you watch, like, we never talk about this as fans, but one of the reasons why good players play so well is because they do so much on offense that the guys that have to guard them are so burnt playing defense. Like, I think Randall's outplayed most of his counterparts because Randall beats him on offense. What does Payton do to make a guy tired when they're on defense? All he does is drive to the basket. He doesn't run around the perimeter. He doesn't take deep shots where they have to close out. Like, of course, like, Terry Rozier is going to have a fine game against Payton. He doesn't have to play defense the whole game, you know?
Well, that goes back to my point, though, about like how Elfrid Payton is the worst. He's literally causing losses now at this point. Like, the way that he's playing basketball is causing the Knicks to lose.
So, like, that's why I just really want the Knicks to, like, stop playing Payton and, like, put RJ in a role where what he does can constitute them to get closer to winning and constitute his skills to helping them win more. And that might help him hit more shots. You know, like, imagine if Luka Doncic was just a spot-up shooter. He would literally be a bad basketball player because he's not a good three-point shooter and he's a terrible defender. So if all he did was take the ball and shoot threes, like, we don't even care about him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but because he has the opportunities to do what he is best at, his game looks better to us. I'm sure Tibbs knows that, and people say RJ's workload's too hard. I don't think his workload's too hard. I think his workload is too hard because he's not an opportunity to succeed in what he does. RJ never looks tired to me. If they just, like, let him do what he does best, I think they would be better.
Yeah.
Which is, like, why I said I just don't care anymore, because I'm not going to see that for a while. And if I see that and then he's playing bad, I'll be like, I'm probably totally out. But I shouldn't be out on a guy that is playing a role that is not what he's supposed to play, because he's not that dynamic. There are some players that will play any role you put him in. His role is he plays best with the ball in his hand going up against a smaller defender. And right now, that's just not his role.
Did you watch that video that I sent you last night?
I didn't watch it, but I know that dude, Sean, and I watch his videos, and I can guess what he said.
Yeah, pretty much basically exactly what you just said.
Right.
Dude, that game against Toronto, he went 0 for 8 from 3. In what universe is it ever acceptable for him to shoot 8 3-pointers?
Well, they were just down so much, and, like, he just, like, had to shoot, you know?
I know, that's crazy. Against Philly, he shot 6 3. Like, there's got to be a better option than RJ Barrett jacking up threes. That's terrible.
Your point guard doesn't shoot. He doesn't have a choice.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he shouldn't be in a position where he has to shoot 8 3-pointers.
I just, like, want to see him, like, in his role. And I think that's, like, maybe the closest thing Tibbs was almost correct on, but he just had no idea what to do with it. Like, yes, he envisioned RJ as the guy that runs an offense, but he didn't know what the hell he was doing with it. He just thought it was a good idea. But I don't think that's, like, giving Tibbs Fizz credit. Everyone knows that, watching him in college. You know, and do you know how cool it would be if, like let's say they ran out my starting lineup, which is you just replace, you just put in Rivers and you take out Payton, you put in Burks and you give him the ball. You're guessing that one of the guards is going to guard him, you know, and even if it is like a bigger wing, like he has the ball 30 feet from the basket, he has time to get a running start. And I think RJ he's kind of slow, you know, in small space, but I think he's pretty fast in big space, you know? And if he just has more room to move, I think he can get to that speed where he takes off a little more.
He's not explosive.
He's not explosive.
He's methodical in his approach to getting to the rim.
But when I've watched him in the last year and a half, when he's running already, he's faster, you know?
Yeah, like with a full head of steam, he's not slow, and he's a strong kid. He's not like a weak kid. He plays small. When he takes the ball to the rim lately, he's been like, it's
because standing he doesn't jump high.
Yeah, understandable, but like that's no excuse for the LeBron James layup where you're like you jump and then you wait for the defender to jump with you, and then as you're about to like hit the ground, you throw it up. And I see RJ do that a lot lately. LeBron makes it work because he's built like an orc. So
Yeah,
just the
RJ
strongest man.
He can't get to the position where when he releases the ball, he's able to put the correct spin on it off the backboard on the right spot. Like he just has struggled to get to that spot. But he's shown us in the past he can do that.
Right.
So I just think I know I'm kind of just repeating what you guys have said, but I think I was just I just don't care anymore because I don't want to watch a Peyton offense when I see the other side of what it can be, and we're just not there.
That's totally fine, and I wish you would have said that last night because I was about to drive to Croton and strangle you.
I don't know if I was able to currently pinpoint it at the time because you still expect NBA players that are thrower picks to do better than what he was doing. I'm not taking
dude, and you can expect that, and he should be playing better.
Yeah,
but he is still a kid, and he's still learning, and it's still a psychological grind.
And also, at no point in his life at no point in his life has he ever stood in the side of the court not having the ball in his hands. That never happened on any team in any game he's ever played on. Even me, and I'm not an NBA player. When I played basketball, I was a point guard, and then when I was when I stopped playing because of golf, and I was at not fast or athletic. When I went to intramural in college, and the other kid was a point guard, and I just stood in the side of the court. I just couldn't do anything. I just didn't know what I was supposed to do. I wasn't the best shooter. My best ability is to pass to open guys. And when that's RJ's second best ability, I'd say his first ability is, even though he's struggling, he is pretty good at getting to the basket for a guy that doesn't have John Morant athleticism. And when he gets the ball with 8 seconds on the shot clock, and no one's open behind the 3-point line because they don't shoot, I get why his instinct is, I can get to the rim, but then he gets meet by a 7-foot guy that he would never meet against in college or high school, and he can't score.
You said he gets meat. Gross.
He gets his meat gross.
No, you're right. You're right. Everything that you just said is right, and that's a good analysis of why he's struggling so bad. I just get frustrated, and I know you were mostly kidding, but a lot of people do this when people are just they suck. Okay, well, why do they suck? There's got to be a reason why. RJ Barrett doesn't suck at basketball. He's a really good basketball player. Let's talk about why he sucks. And I think that you just put it in the best way possible. I think
I needed time to think those thoughts out in a certain pattern.
For sure. And it's not you, and I know we live text during the game.
Right. When I watch him take a stupid shot, I'm God.
Right. But there's people out there today that are on Twitter RJ Barrett sucks. RJ Barrett doesn't fucking suck.
Yeah, box score readers.
Right. You suck. Yeah. You're an idiot. Stop talking about it. Let's talk about why he's been playing poorly. Okay. Could it be because they don't use him the right way and they're sitting him in the corner, and that's not what he's supposed to be doing? He's getting the ball with 7 seconds left on the shot clock, and he has to make a decision really fast. There's reasons to why he's playing the way he's playing.
Right.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. No, it's fine. It just hit me I don't want to talk about it anymore because
this is my last point. Sorry, fine. Let me give my last point in this.
No problem.
I decided that I can't be as hard, and again, I don't care that he can't hit a 3 right now. Whatever, you know what I mean? It's whatever. Who fucking cares? Who fucking cares if they can't get a fucking shot? It's just a fucking game. You know what I mean? It is just a game. But
it doesn't affect me. I almost cried last night, but I handle my business.
When I realized that I'm gonna think the way I've said now was, in RJ's defense, he's never had a game where, except for the first game of the last season when he started with Schroeder, forget about that. He's never had a game where he did get to run the team like Ja, like Luka, like all of these young guard wings that have this opportunity to show their skills. And I've always said Luka is not the best player. Like, he's not a good shooter. He makes stupid turnovers and is worthless on defense. But if you have the ball in your hands for 40 minutes, you can get your points and your assists and figure it out over time and figure out what the defense has decided how they're going to guard you tonight. But when you only have the ball in your hands with 8 seconds in the shot clock, with 5 guys in the paint, and your whole life you've always just bodied through to get to the rim, and now that's gone and no one's open to pass to, you just can't make that decision. Like,
Right.
It just is not possible anymore. So until he has the ball with 2 shooters, Mitch and Randall doing Randall things, which is not even the best system for him, then I'll be like, okay, he can do it, he can't do it. But until I see that, I just don't care anymore. I just don't care.
That's your lineup with
Right.
Burks and Rivers. Like, that's exactly what you're talking about. And even like Austin Rivers isn't a great 3-point shooter. He's barely a good 3-point shooter. He's like
serviceable.
He's a serviceable 3-point shooter. You know, Burks is good because he's a good basketball player.
To make 3 or 4. Yeah.
Right.
But that's that. I think we have harped on it, and I know it's gonna be tough watching still because Payton's not getting out of the lineup. But I think I'm now more aware of who the Knicks really are after 11 games, and I think there's things I'm gonna look for more now that I don't care if they win or lose as much. I still want them to win every game, but I think there's things that I've seen that can grow and prosper as a team. But anyway, I know I just talked for a while, and you guys got a good chunk talk in the beginning. Do you guys want to talk about this game or Knicks more, or do you want to move into a couple other topics? Or actually, Pete, I know you've been a little quiet. Anything you need to talk about?
To me, can you guys hear me? I had to switch off headphones.
Yeah, you sound great.
Thanks. To me, a lot of it is
like ear sex.
This isn't the Knicks full lineup. They've like, we can't really judge a lot more than we can like take observations and such, and we have. But I think a lot of the Knicks struggles comes down to having to play 8 guys and not having some of their better shooters. And we can talk about how poor RJ's been playing and how Alfred isn't working and this and that and the other thing. But like Tibbs only has so many choices when he's got 3 rotational pieces that are just sitting on the bench in street clothes. So I think the dynamic of the team will change. It'll be easier to take RJ off the court when there's guys who can replace him, namely Burks. And he won't have to just play through a shitty shooting night. Beyond that, I think as long as guys are out, the Knicks will keep struggling, and we'll have to see how the team changes when guys come back. And hopefully it gets better, but right now it's only gotten worse with Bullock missing a game. I don't know if he's going to miss another one, but I don't know. It's kind of just it's tough to fix a problem when you don't have every tool in the toolbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very well said. I can't.
Knicks lack dynamic players. That's the quote of the year.
But yeah, with that, I think we've covered basically everything from the losing streak. I don't want to harp on the losing streak too much, just because
they happen. It's a young team.
We're not the Warriors. We're not, or that.
If they lost 3 games, or 3 games where 1 or 2 were remotely competitive with a few minutes left, I don't think we would have been as down.
If you think about it in the grander scheme of the NBA and just like people like current situations right now, I would be panicking far more as fans of other teams than.
Yeah, dude, if I was a Wizards fan, I would be freaking the fuck out.
Yeah,
because the Wizards are locked up on dope.
Because Bradley Beal scores 50 points a game and they still lose.
Yeah, can we talk about the fucking Nets and Kyrie Irving is like partying?
Yeah, so that was gonna be in our next segment.
I mean,
I was
there's
just gonna
reasons
update,
to freak
and
out.
then we'll
This isn't one of them.
What I'm gonna say, the Knicks by Vegas odds were supposed to have the worst record. So if they don't have the worst record, in essence, they overachieved comparing what the smartest odds deciders have decided. With other news in the NBA and sports beyond, first I want to talk about the Jets coaching thing. Search. The Jets have hired pretty much like have interviewed pretty much every active head coach. Anyone that wants to be head coach has got an interview so far. So far, from reports from smart people like Rich Kamini, the second interview for Robert Saleh, defense coordinator of the 49ers, is underway, and he's a front runner, which I think would be great. And if they can, and they're supposed to have a second interview with Eric Bieniemy when they're allowed to, from Kansas City, the offense coordinator, which would be amazing. If they can get one of those two, I think that'd be awesome. Obviously, as a progressive sports fan, I always root for young, smart, talented, people of different races to be my coach. I didn't like Adam Gase by any means. I thought that was just a cop-out. So I think if they can get that active, powerful voice in the locker room, I think that would be amazing, besides that they're great coaches. As I think we all agree. I think
Joe Brady.
I think he's good. I just think I think I would be a little more confident if they did hire one of these longer-term coordinators from teams that have had sustained success, if that's fair.
Yeah, no,
opposed to
I love
Joe Brady, Joe Brady's 31 years old. And he's good, and I think he has a long future, but I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Sean McVay is really young. He's a good coach.
That's true.
Young coaches are fine. Cliff Kingsbury is coming into his own. He's a super young coach.
That's true.
Salah is great.
Mike, I'm losing you.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Salah is great.
Yes, you're frozen, but you're back. You're back.
The 49ers haven't been anything to write home about over the last few years.
The 49ers were in the Super Bowl last year.
They suck. The NFC is garbage.
So, when people get replaced, oftentimes the hirees try to find the inverse of that, and Gase was a quiet, introverted, angry, non-communicative person, and Robert Saleh is like outspoken, positive, cheering, loud, great communicator. So I think that would be one of the top reasons he'd be a top choice. I
like him. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying,
even if he's just the defense coordinator, I'd be ecstatic.
I don't know why he would leave San Francisco to come to New York.
Good point. Unless he got paid more.
I want to see it be Doug Peterson or Ben McAdoo.
Shut the fuck up.
Go back to
Philly. Kick him out of the fucking video for this.
Go back to the bad part of Philly.
You can't talk about this.
So we'll keep.
Are you one of those Giants fans that cried because your 6-10 team didn't make the playoffs?
No, I don't think we deserve to make the playoffs. I do think what Doug Peterson did was gross for the NFL in general, but I'm not going to bitch about it not making the playoffs.
I don't really care. Whatever. They weren't playoffs. They can do whatever they fucking want.
Anyone whose team got that done to them would care about it, and anyone who's watching from the sidelines would say you don't care about it. That's sports fandom,
Jalen Hurts was pissed. And rightfully so. He deserved to start that game.
Well, he should be pissed because he didn't get to play. The Giants should be pissed because they didn't win enough games.
That's true. I'm pissed at Evan Ingram more for botching that.
Dropping another football.
Well, they won the game, though.
No, in the first Eagles game, choked the game away so single-handedly. And if we won that game, there was a few games that he dropped important passes. Football's been pissing me off lately. It's just whatever.
That's fine. I just don't think that it's fair for Giants to take to Twitter and and call out the Eagles. Yeah, what they did was
it was
wrong,
scuzzy.
I guess it was scuzzy, but you shouldn't.
Most teams would have done it.
Relying on another team.
Yeah, you don't do that.
To lose their that's A, bad. B, it's worse when you're 6-10. If it was 9-7 or 8-8, I could see being pissed off. You lost 10 games on your own accord. That's bad. You don't have the right.
I'm not too beat up about the season. They started 1-6, and then they moved up to 6-10, which I thought was really good.
And they had things that they could actually look forward to. You guys actually have a good running back besides Saquon. You're gonna get Saquon back.
Saquon go down if Saquon keeps being hurt. Gallman's fine.
Slayton looks great.
Yeah, what they need is a stud wide receiver, though. They need
a lot of teams need a stud wide receiver. Yep.
Or they need to replace Daniel Jones, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So for now, stud wide receiver would be great.
Sam Darnold could be active here. I actually don't mind if the Jets draft Devonta Smith and then try one more time with Darnold.
Giants so bad.
Yeah, I agree with you, Trev. I don't want them to draft a quarterback. I think that would be the worst decision that they can make because
they can get so the team much talent. Right. I think if their team got better and then they worry about quarterback, it's fine.
They still have Darnold on another year of a rookie deal.
Right. You never know.
He could be a serviceable starter. He could be a really good starter. We don't know because he hasn't been in a position to succeed. He's had Adam Gase as a coach for the last 2 years. For the first 2 years, he didn't have an offensive line. They finally got that a little bit better this past year. And then he didn't have talent at all because Le'Veon Bell decided he didn't want to play running back the same way that he ever did. And who were his receivers? Braxton Berrios, Brashad Perriman for half the year, Jamison Crowder, who's not playing his proper position, and Denzel Mims missed a bunch of games. You can't expect him to be able to do anything with nothing. He's not one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Tom Brady can do something with nothing. Aaron Rodgers can do something with nothing.
I think it's also fair to say that after Tannehill done in Miami, everyone thought he just wasn't good, and then he's a fine quarterback now on a good Tennessee team, away from Gase.
Yeah, and Gase is the common denominator.
Yeah,
Gase is trash. Gase is fucking terrible.
And you don't have to get the quarterback now. You have so much opportunities to fill out your roster. You can always get another quarterback in the future, always. Which moves me now. We'll talk about the big NBA thing, obviously. So Kyrie Irving. Let me preface this before I say anything more. I think Kyrie Irving was instrumental and amazing in his actions as a leading activist in the Black Lives Matter movement this past summer and year in total, and donated a tremendous amount of money and was on the streets, being the man on the microphone in these protests. And he's been vocal about mental health awareness, which I personally love. But now I feel like what Kyrie is doing. So Kyrie Irving, on the night of the Capitol terrorist attack, he decided he wasn't going to play, and someone said protest. And I'm like, it doesn't really protest anything, but whatever. And then the next game he missed, someone said he needs a mental health, a couple of days. And I'm like, I'm aware that he speaks positively about mental health awareness, but someone that gets paid as much money as he does, you shouldn't abuse that power to take mental health days when 300 other Americans don't have that privilege to take that day off of work when they're having a tough day. And then there's videos of him now partying, in a nightclub. I don't know if they're recent. I don't know if they're from before the season started, but that's just not what a team leader does. And I'm so glad we don't have to pay him. And it's such a shitty thing to do to your team. That's what he's doing. Because guys like Karis LeVert don't have the privilege of starting when you play. And then when you're not there, they have to run the entire offense themselves. But then when you come back, they go back to their secondary roles.
I mean, not to bring it back to the Knicks, but Julius Randle probably had one of the toughest years of his life last year, getting shitted on by every media member in New York and around the country. He didn't take any mental health days. Now that's not to compare two people's
and he's a dad.
What people are going through, you can't compare and pick and choose, but that just goes to show the privilege of a Kyrie Irving being able to be well, I don't feel like playing. I've had a tough day, but I'm gonna go to the club and dance out my problems. We'll call it dancing. Right. That's bullshit. That's not fair. Karis LeVert can't do that. Kevin Durant doesn't do that.
No.
Karl Anthony Towns doesn't do that. Karl Anthony Towns had one of the hardest years anybody could ever imagine having, and he doesn't do that. Kyrie Irving's a head case. Kyrie Irving is a selfish player. He's not a selfish person. I don't think he's a selfish player. Obviously, I don't think he's a selfish person because of all the reasons that Trav cited before. He does do a lot for the community. He does do a lot for kids in the community, and he's an outspoken activist, and those are all great things.
And I will always support
do your
that.
job. You have to do your job.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, he seems like a fine guy, but I think for him, sometimes basketball takes a back seat. And when you compare him to, like, the other guy on his team, KD, like, I don't know. If I was KD,
lives basketball.
Because to KD, ball is life. It's everything.
KD's also an amazing person for his communities, by the way.
Yeah, I like KD.
Yeah.
All things considered, even though I'm a salty Knicks fan. I like KD.
I don't blame them.
I don't know. Not to bring it back to a strictly basketball perspective, but that's not how you win championships. Like, do you think that's going to create like a certain amount of tension in that locker room? To like, okay, our second best player, who thinks he's hot shit, thinks he's good enough to say that LeBron's not clutch, like taking days off to go party in crossing international borders to go to strip clubs or wherever he was. If the video's like from recently, we don't know for a fact it was.
Try this one on for size. What if he had signed with the Knicks?
And
what if he was a Knick? What if he was a Knick and he was doing this?
They would say the Knicks have no idea they can't sign good players.
They would be crucifying the Knicks. It would be James Dolan's fault that he can't control Kyrie Irving.
Sure.
It would be Tom Thibodeau's fault because he's not a good enough coach. Yeah. It would be Julius Randle's fault because
they don't know how to handle stars.
Yeah. Right. So why are the Brooklyn Nets getting a free pass to let? Why is Steve Nash and I love Steve Nash, don't get me wrong. Why is Steve Nash getting a free pass letting this guy do whatever the fuck he wants? Steve Nash didn't even know. Kyrie Irving, they couldn't even contact Kyrie Irving. And that's not the first report in this kid's career, in this grown-ass man's career where they haven't been able to reach him, and he's been silenced his phone for days on end, and they can't even get in touch with him. And it's the season. It's during the season. It's not his own time. It's not Deshaun Watson turning off his phone and going on vacation and not answering his coaches and his GM's phone calls because they fucking stink and he doesn't want to talk to them. He wants to enjoy a vacation after the season's over. Hello, we're 11 games into the season, bud. Where are you? We had 2 games. Where have you been?
Yeah, Mike, I got a question for you.
Yes.
If you had work and you didn't show up and your boss called you.
I would get fired.
Exactly.
I would get fired.
So I'm not saying they should cut Kyrie or whatever, but I'm just saying like that's bullshit. Your teammates are out there playing, sweating. You know, they're risking their bodies realistically to try to be a championship squad.
Yeah, if I'm a Jared Allen or a Karis LeVert or a Spencer Dinwiddie, I'm pissed.
If I'm Spencer Dinwiddie and I'm watching from the fucking surgery bed, like just hoping that I can play again next season.
Livid. Guys that have been on this team since they started coming up, since they were in the drolls of the Eastern Conference, and they're on the come up, watching and super stoked to get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant to come play with them in Brooklyn and having this team together. If I'm them, livid. I'm ready to strangle them.
If I was him, who's been sticking with this team through all these bad seasons, through that terrible fucking Boston trade, since everything that's gone wrong for them forever, they were basically the Knicks too. And now finally they have something, and Kyrie Irving is just fucking off and not playing the game. I would be pissed if I was a Nets fan.
Dude, I feel so bad for all 3 Nets fans. You have no idea.
There's 3?
I know one.
It's also
for
like
sure.
It is hard for me to talk poorly about a guy that has done so much. You know?
But you can separate work from the community. You can separate those two things.
Because he wanted to come to the Nets. One, a lot of the guys on that team that are secondary players, their contracts are to an extent ever going to be capped because KD and Kyrie are maxed, right?
Yeah.
But they play most of the games. Like I think Bondi shared last night, Kyrie has been an active member of the Nets for I think 88 total games, including the bubble, and he's played in like 27 of them, you know? And like, yes, he got hurt last year, but he didn't even show up to the bubble. And I understand there was a lot going on in our country that he was active for, but his teammates are still his brothers. and he wasn't there for him.
Honestly, Trav, I forgot that he played on the Nets last year.
Right.
Like I actually forgot
and
that
he started the
played
season
games.
really well. If you look at his box scores, and then he just stopped playing.
He was playing out of his gourd. He was playing unbelievable basketball.
Right.
I mean, yeah. As much as we like to give the caveat that he's a good guy, I do agree with Mike that we can separate kind of like
You should be a good guy. That's not an excuse to be able to do whatever
all
you want.
NBA players are good guys for the
Not
most part.
all of them, a lot of them, most of them,
Derrick
but
Rose
not all
is
of them.
a
Don't
good
say
guy.
that.
When
Derrick
you
Rose,
compare the
Kristaps
NFL, for
Porzingis is not a good guy.
no.
like the faces of the league are good guys though. Like LeBron's a good guy.
LeBron's a future president. Like I would dedicate my life to his presidential campaign if he ever.
I wouldn't, but that's just because of the way, like when all that China shit went down with Daryl Morey, I was off of what LeBron was saying.
LeBron James is very much a capitalist, hardcore.
Yeah, that's fine. We have a capitalist country. Everyone's a capitalist. You
take that talk to a different podcast, Travis.
Literally all have jobs because of capitalism, regardless if we support it or not. Like I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like there are pros and cons. I just don't care about that. But LeBron, there's so many other ways to do things with your lives. We're not talking about this because I'm not prepared for it. But trust me, I agree with I agree with all your points, but I'm saying LeBron not speaking out on the China thing. I was like, it's just not his thing. You know what I mean? Like he just doesn't know. Like I don't know.
Had the wrong take. He was pissed at Daryl Morey, and really he was trying to save his own bag in China because Nike sells a lot of shoes.
You guys are right, and I guess you're right on that.
Yeah,
I am all for against the evils of capitalism. But the NBA is capitalism.
Yeah, of course. But what I'm saying is that LeBron's a good guy. He made a mistake. I think Kyrie's a good guy too, and he's making a big mistake.
But LeBron made one mistake. Kyrie makes many
Kyrie's
mistakes
done this
and has made many mistakes.
Yeah.
Kyrie makes more mistakes than LeBron, and Kyrie's making a mistake that's slighting his basketball teammates, which is fucked up. But I think we can point that out and still think Kyrie's not a bad guy. There's more nuance.
No, but I think it's fair to call him a head case. Calling him a head case during the flat Earth thing wasn't. That's not fair. That's stupid. It doesn't make sense. Saying that there's things that they didn't teach us in school. Okay, what did you learn outside of school that they didn't teach us in school that you think is the keys to life? That's stupid. That doesn't make somebody a head case. Ducking out on your team and not answering your phone and going to party and letting people make excuses, that's head case shit. That's not
a problem. That's what I would call a big fucking problem if I'm the Nets. That's what I'm gonna say about it.
I think that's shit that a crazy person does. Frankly,
I just think he thinks he's above the team he plays for. I think he is fully invested in. I am an NBA star, and I do what I want to do. And I play for my team. It's their privilege. I play for them.
His ego is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's how he actually thinks.
Any player that runs away from LeBron James and has spent the rest of his career kind of shit talking and diminishing LeBron James's career and accolades, has just the biggest ego that you could possibly have.
And then he goes to play second fiddle for the second best player. So what's really the fucking difference?
Well, it's the first time in his career that he could look across and say, that motherfucker can hit shots.
Right,
when you really think about it.
He's never put a player that can hit a shot in basketball for.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally a skill.
I also think that's also the thing too. If I'm a teammate, I'm Karis LeVert, you played a game with me last year. I hit shots when you decide to pass sometimes. That shit's just so stupid,
Toxic.
Imagine
toxic.
if just Julius Randle said that about Elfrid Payton, just stupid, something stupid. Elfrid Payton's the only guy I've ever played with that can dribble the ball and get to the basket. RJ Barrett just wouldn't be happy that at the next practice, that they're humans. Yeah.
Yeah. What if the Knicks had signed Gordon Hayward and Julius Randle was like, damn, that's the first time as a Knick I can look across and say that motherfucker can hit shots.
They'd be like James Dolan can't build a good culture.
Right? Like, it's tough because we're Knicks fans, and like I don't want to keep on bringing it back around to like the Knicks, that like LOL Knicks train, but like really like when you think about it, like they just get shit on for everything, and then the Brooklyn Nets can let their star players do whatever the fuck they want.
Right. I don't know and Charlotte Hornets can just sign a guy that supported Donald Trump's campaign, and like nothing happens about it.
So yeah, didn't Gordon Hayward, wasn't he a Trump guy?
I didn't even know that until last night.
I'm pretty sure like
no, he did.
I'm pretty sure in 2016 him and his wife made a contribution to the Trump campaign.
They did, according to Twitter.
Yeah, according to Twitter.
I don't blame people who voted for Trump the first time that much. I mean, I don't like them. The world was in a different place, and a lot of people didn't understand what he represented because, like, the political literacy in the United States is just extremely low. But
lived in Indy.
Voting for Trump the first time is a way more forgivable sin than voting for Trump the second time.
Yeah, I would be like a lot more angry if he gave money to the campaign in 2020.
That would he wouldn't be in the league if that happened.
They would run him out of the league.
Any of his teammates fuck with him? At this point, at least love it or hate it, and I love it, but Trump is literally synonymous, like after BLM and all that, Trump is synonymous with racism. And basketball is a sport with a lot of black people who play it. And
yeah, but Trump also helped a lot of very wealthy people keep a lot more money too. So I think
true, but I think
you'd be a little surprised.
Extremely socially conscious. And if Hayward was like spouting Trump shit in the locker room, I don't think they would be that cool with it. Or even
but that's under the assumption that he was talking about politics in the locker room.
I don't think he was, and I don't really think he's that political of a guy. I'm just saying as an example, like the NBA is definitely not very Trump friendly.
No, in general, they are not.
But yeah, I mean that Kyrie stuff's bullshit. That's my final take on it. Kyrie's being fucking whack.
Yeah, it's diva shit, and it's not fair to his teammates. It's not fair to his coach. It's not fair to his first year coach and Steve Nash. Like, how do you make excuses for a guy like that? Like, it's not fair to Nets brass. It's not fair to Nets fans. It's not fair to Kevin Durant. It's not fair to Spencer Dinwiddie, who's laid up in the bed right now. It's not fair to Karis LeVert, who's been on bad teams. It's not fair. It's not fair. You shouldn't just be able to do whatever you want because of who you are.
If I was Kevin Durant, I would call Kyrie Irving and I would say, get your ass on a plane right fucking now and come home and then quarantine, or I'm going to tell Steve Nash to give your minutes to Karis LeVert.
Bro, if I'm
Kevin Durant, they might not want him to play. Like, they just might not care if he's there or not.
Kyrie Irving is on the court or not?
What, like, if I'm Karis LeVert, I would rather not play with Kyrie. I get to start.
Oh, no, but if I'm KD, I want to play with Kyrie. And if I'm Steve Nash,
but we don't really know. Like, we don't really know how they feel.
I think realistically, they want to win games.
And you want your best players on the court, and Kyrie Irving's one of your best players.
Well, to be fair, they won games without him, and he wasn't in the bubble in the playoffs. And the other guys still on the team from the D'Angelo Russell playoff team were still there and starting and playing.
Like, I mean,
Trev, you want your best players on the court. I get what you're saying, but it seems like a little devil's advocate-y. Like, you want Kyrie Irving on the court because he's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, I agree with Mike.
But what I'm saying is I think that to the players' like fairness, they really might not care. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm sure Kevin Durant wants to play with Kyrie Irving. That's why they came to the Nets together. Does Karis LeVert care? No, because he's touching the ball more.
Right. Jared Allen definitely doesn't care. Kyrie literally last year named the players he likes playing with and didn't name Jared Allen in an interview.
That's weird shit.
So good, dude.
That's so toxic.
Jared Allen wasn't starting because Kyrie Irving told the front office he wanted DeAndre Jordan playing with him. I'm just saying, like,
No, I'm sure there are players that don't want him on the court.
If I'm the Nets, I'd trade Kyrie for James Harden, like right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
if they
right
could
away.
get that, do it immediately. Would you give Kyrie and a first for James Harden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
What about two firsts?
Give him two firsts.
Yeah.
Harris. I want the Knicks to trade for James Harden.
Imagine Harden and Durant.
KD and James Harden together will
They've been teammates
for a championship, actually.
Would you give RJ, Mitch, and 3 firsts for James Harden?
I would keep Mitch, but I would trade Randall probably.
I don't think they would take that.
RJ, Randall, and 3 firsts?
Yeah, that's less than AD.
2 seconds?
AD commanded 4 firsts?
Pete, you're gone. Can't hear you.
Is this better?
Hello? Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can't hear Pete.
Huh.
Our video is not letting it. I can't hear anybody.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, Pete, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Hello?
Trav, I can hear you.
You guys
Trav,
are super, super fuzzy wuzzy.
I think it's you, Trav.
We can hear you. In any event, Mike, AD commanded 4 fucking firsts, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but the Lakers gave the Pelicans anything that they wanted because LeBron James said that he wanted to play with Anthony Davis.
True, but Harden's in a unique situation where he can basically say what team he wants to go to, and I think that team would have to fork over a ton.
I guess, but Harden also doesn't really have any leverage at all.
Yeah, that's why the Rockets can command so much. Because they have all the leverage.
No, but I don't think that a team is like, if a team was itching for James Harden, they would have made a trade like that by now.
I agree.
Now it's too late for something like that.
I think why not with how well John Wall's playing? Why not just try to see if you can do what you thought you would be able to do last year with Westbrook? John Wall is what Westbrook was supposed to be on the Rockets.
Because James Harden doesn't want to be in Houston anymore.
Right.
He doesn't give it.
It's also a different coaching staff, different front office. They don't run the same plays. Although James Harden has played pretty well. I know he's in scored as well, but he's been passing well.
He's 800 pounds.
Dude, he's just a baller. Doesn't matter. He could literally be 200 or 290 pounds. Wouldn't fucking matter.
No, Pete, I said 800 pounds.
He's not 800 pounds. Like that dude can just ball, just in his blood.
Yeah, he's a good player, but I mean,
he's a good baller.
You think he would want? No one would want to play. Like he doesn't want to play for the Knicks anyway, Trav. It would be a mess.
I don't care.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to trade for James Harden.
I don't want to trade for James Harden. I just
keep saying it though.
I mean, I don't really think it, but like, I just would like to be one of those fans that gets to watch a player that does good things with the basketball often.
Yeah, we are. We have Julius Randle. Be happy.
I know. I am happy. I am happy. I'm just saying, like, just make the call. See what they want. That's it.
Yeah, do at least pick up the phone. I do agree with that. Always pick up the phone.
I just want to know what they want from the Knicks.
Well, you always pick up the phone unless you have Jamal Adams, who will throw a temper tantrum if you pick up the phone.
Yeah, no, same with Kristaps. Remember that shit?
Yeah,
when Phil the phone on Kristaps.
Crazy.
And then everyone was like, "Why would you say this?" It was like, well, because
that's another thing that drives me crazy with stars is like you have no problem with the team trading away players for your friends. But the minute they want to trade you forget it's a business. Like the thing with D'Angelo Russell last year and Karl-Anthony Towns. They were like, Karl-Anthony Towns is so excited to play for D'Angelo Russell that they traded away Andrew Wiggins, who's made a home here, to a team that might not want him. But that's okay because Karl-Anthony Towns got his best friend. Like, did you just forget about the other guy in the team that now has to go get a new life? I
feel so bad for Andrew Wiggins. He's gotten so much like unmitigated shitting on over like the last 5 years, and like he's not a bad NBA player.
You said like I had no problems with Tibbs as my coach. The other guy, maybe you need to talk to about that. You know,
I like Andrew Wiggins as a guy. He's like a consummate professional. He's gotten better on defense, and that was the one area that he was really lacking in.
He's playing okay.
Like
As far as I know, he's never done anything wrong off the court. Like he's a good dude, you know.
Yeah, I feel
he's living
really
in a
bad for him.
country he didn't grow up in. Like he's a fine player.
He'll get less shit when they're able to restructure his contract. You know, it's gonna be a little while, but like.
Yeah, but the year that he got that deal, everybody was getting mega deals like that.
Right, like everyone. Yeah.
They were handing out mega deals. Is it his fault? No.
Like some nights he looks like that dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I have a night like once every like 15 games where he's just on fire.
I mean, he's
one thing about Wiggins is 25. He doesn't get. Let me read off his stats from his first year with Tibbs.
Andrew Wiggins is only 25 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah. His first year with Tibbs for the traded for Butler. He played 82 games. He started 82, 37.2 minutes a game. He averaged 23.6 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2.3 assists, a steal, shot 45%, 36% from 3, and 76% from the line. Like, pretty good numbers. Like, the kid can play. And then from then on, he's never played as well again since they traded for Butler.
He's been in the league for 7. This is his 7th season. He's averaged over his career 19.7 on 44% shooting, 33.4 from 3, average. 4 boards, 2 assists, a steal, and half a block on 35 minutes a game-ish.
I would rather have him in his contract than Peyton. They're in the same draft. I would take the contract. I don't care. He can do stuff with the ball.
It's like the Andrew Wiggins shitting on never made sense to me because, like, okay, no, plenty of guys don't live up to their draft spots. A lot of number 1 overall picks don't live up to their draft spots. Like, give the kid a fucking break.
Yeah.
Please stop shitting on him.
A minute after he was drafted, he was traded to literally Minnesota.
I mean, you want to talk about somebody who. You want to talk about somebody who, like, would if he came out and said that he's been having, like, mental health problems, like, everybody would be, like, not surprised. Andrew Wiggins is one of those people, and you never hear a peep from him. Now, that being said, Andrew Wiggins, if you're having problems, please reach out to somebody. But, like, he's not ducking games on his team.
No.
Yeah. No, fact.
He's a good dude.
Maybe. We don't really know. But you don't hear anything about him, which is good.
Who was the rookie of the year from his draft? Was he the rookie of the year?
In 2014? Hold on, wait, let me guess.
He was the rookie of the year. Okay.
Okay.
My battery is getting sucked up faster than it can charge.
Well, we should finish this soon.
That's
anyway.
Not good. Yeah, I got to go out and get a nice chair for my room, for my desk.
for the new desk.
Yeah, good pod. Knicks next game is who?
They play on Wednesday against the Brooklyn Nets on ESPN. I think it's their only national game of the year. I expect Kyrie Irving's not playing that game, so hopefully the Knicks win that game. Even if they're just competitive, that'd be great. The Knicks are. Oh, the Nets play tonight. Let's see who's home. I think the Nets are home. No, they play against the Nuggets. They play against the Nets on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, Nets, then Cavs, then Celtics.
Right, and the Knicks are home on ESPN.
Why do they have the hardest fucking schedule in the world, dude?
Because the league gets pure enjoyment of punishing the Knicks. It's true. I think it's true. I really do.
I mean, based on the refereeing that we've seen the last few games, I think we could talk about that another time.
That is their only national game this year so far. So hopefully they come out and play hard.
Just play hard. That excuse, but holy shit, was the reffing so bad last night.
The reffing has been bad, and I think that it deserves more talking about if, like, the Knicks were losing close games, but when they lose by 20 points, it doesn't really fucking matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
All right, so with that, I'm going to let us get going so you guys can get on with your days. Thanks again, Mike, for coming on. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Trav.
You guys, thank you to our fans for coming into another wonderful episode of the StayTrueKnicks podcast. From your host, this is Travis Hacker, and I'm going to sign off now. But as always, go Knicks.
Go Knicks.
Go Knicks.